It's time for you to vote for your game of the year. And in this video, I'm presenting the second semi-final of 5 games. If you haven't voted in the first semi-final, then do check out the community tab on the main channel. You'll probably find a link down there as well, or maybe there's a link up there in the I tab. So we're having 2 semi-finals of 5 games. And we'll end up with a final of 5 games, and we'll have another round of voting then. Hope you're not too confused. Anyway, enjoy the games, and thank you everyone for the nominations. It's made it much easier for me to make a selection, and they are my selection. So apologies if your game has missed out, but it's very subjective. But I hope you enjoy all the games anyway. So yeah. It's my selection, my house, my rules. Here we go. Second semi-final, game 1, and it's Ivanchuk against Leko, played in the Legends of Chess in July. It was a King's Gambit. Well, how could I resist this game? It was Chucky showing his genius again. So Leko has played one of the lines which is, well, recommended as simply being good for black. But Chucky showed how to stir things up. He managed to castle on the queen side. And here, even though black's king side looks pretty solid, he succeeded in lining up his forces and making this wonderful exchange sacrifice. But here, Leko managed to exchange off that rook, and at this point you think, well, black still has everything under control. He's the exchange up, his king seems okay. But there were some brilliant moments in the game. This was a very cool idea. b3 and king b2, I love that. Before doing anything, Chucky didn't panic. He made sure his king was safe before doing anything else. Then he succeeded in bringing this bishop round here onto this key diagonal, and then, well, chaos started happening. He broke through on the queen side and then opened this up. But what was fantastic was that here he sacrificed a piece. So now Ivanchuk was a full rook down, but he judged that his initiative and the bishops and the pawns in combination with the queen was simply too strong, and white does have a strong attack here. And at this point, well, he succeeded in winning a piece back. And then he simplified down into a winning endgame. Well, bishop and 3 against a rook was too much, even for Leko. So, yeah, I love that game. It was kind of bringing the King's Gambit into the modern age. And against a strong player like Peter Leko as well, it was incredibly impressive. Right, next game. Here we go. Giri against Nepomniachtchi. Anish Giri against Jan Nepomniachtchi, played in the Candidates Tournament in March. This was extraordinary. Giri played a very sharp opening and obviously came to the board extremely well prepared and caught Nepo. That was clear from the clock times. This move rook c1 is a little bit unusual, but Nepo played incredibly well. He wasn't phased at all and met fire with fire. So he's sacked back a piece, or he sacrificed a piece here, got it back, but it's still a very messy position. And here, well, from the clock times, again, it was clear that Giri was probably still in his preparation. And this is such a scary position. White's king is safe, can always hide here. 2 bishops, open file, that pawn, the king is in the middle. But Nepo managed to survive this, more than survive. He found some brilliant ideas. This coming up. Hang on a second. Here we go. b5 was an incredible move, a really powerful move. And it fact in a position which probably should have ended up in a draw. It was Giri that made a mistake. And, well, they reached an endgame. Looked pretty drawish, rook and bishop against queen. But Nepo managed to squeeze this one out. They got to a position with queen against rook. Here, his technique was incredible. If you play queen takes pawn, then the point is this king runs round. And in this position, this is actually a draw. This is a fortress. But Nepo recognized that and played queen h5, preventing the king from running round here. So it'll just be checked back. And first of all, he brought his king over. And this position is Zugzwang, and the king won this pawn. And then he brought his king round to here. And this was the final move of the game, queen d3. And that's going to be a winning king and pawn endgame. Here, Giri resigned. Brilliant performance in every phase of the game. The opening, the middle game, and the end game. Incredibly complex. That's Nepo in absolutely top form in the candidates. Next game, Dubov against Karjakin. So this was played just a few days ago, but I had to include it. So this is Dubov at his romantic best. But I think what's interesting about this is that it shows that Dubov has this knack for exploring moves which are known, but somehow discredited, and yet he finds a way of creating a complex position. So here, yeah, this hasn't been explored very much. But Dubov obviously understood the position very well. And, well, he likes attacking. And it, as I said in the original video, it looks like it could come from a game played in a Vienna coffee house at the beginning of the 20th century, or, you know, around 1900 or something. And Dubov managed to sacrifice his queen. I mean, these moves are pretty amazing. But we get to the queen sack moment. Even after that, it wasn't clear, but Dubov succeeded in negotiating the complications perfectly and won a brilliant game. Again, against a strong opponent, Sergei Karjakin, known as the Minister of Defense. And in fact, if Karjakin had just drawn this game, he would have been equal first in the Russian Championship. So that has some significance. So next game, Alisa Galiyamava against Alina Kashlinskaya. And this was this, well, you could call it a reversed King's Indian attack. This pretty well-known position with colours reversed. And, well, Kashlinskaya got this typical attack where you mass your pieces on the king side. And this is still pretty unclear. And Galiyamava thought that she had obviously defended well enough and started to push the a-pawn forward. But this is brilliant. I think here, you know, it's not obvious how you break through here against those knights. But bishop h3 and bishop g2 was incredible. And you've got the sword of Damocles hanging over your head with this a-pawn. But she had found this sensational sacrifice. Giving up the queen, and bishop takes e3, and this forces mate. Let's just go through one line. Knight takes, check, check, and back with the knight for mate on h3. Spectacular, and, you know, well worked out. And my final selection, my final game is Jan Krzysztof Duda against Magnus Carlsen. So this was played in Norway chess, and Magnus played this really enterprising line with h5. This is currently very trendy. Duda went for it on the queen side, and after b5, allowing d5, the position opens on the queen side. Carlsen gave up a pawn. Now, I think what's amazing about this is that Duda is under massive pressure here. Magnus gave up the exchange, and somehow he managed to defend this with white. And at a certain point, Magnus, let me get there. Magnus looks like he's getting somewhere, but Queen G2, this wasn't good. Queen C2 is an excellent move. The ending's better for white. And here, Rook E8 check is very important. If Rook takes, then that's the key tactic. Bishop G7, winning the queen. So after this, well, Duda took on B8. Even this isn't 100% clear, with white's king staggering around. Nevertheless, Duda's technique was excellent, and he managed to win this game. That game, of course, had historical significance because it was the first time that Carlsen had been defeated in 125 classical games. Wow. A mad game. So there we go. That's my second semi-final. 5 games for you to vote on. Which is your favourite? Please do vote. And once we've got the results in for both semi-finals, we will have a selection of 5 games, and we will have a grand final vote to decide on the game of the year. Like I said, it's a very subjective suggestion. It's my choice. I hope you like this. I'm really grateful for all your nominations. It was really helpful. But in the end, it's just a bit of fun. Do check out the original videos of all these games for you to get a better idea of the nuances in them, because they were, in their own way, they all deserve to be there. They're all brilliant in their own way. Thanks for watching.